Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of our Lifetime Award this year at Laureus 2019 is Monsieur Arsene Wenger. Arsene, congratulations.
Thank you very much. I haven't done a lot, but good evening. And, that's it.
That's it. Thank you very much for joining us. Yes. Arsene, lifetime achievement. It feels like a time to look back on all these achievements. Everyone always asks you what you're doing next.
It looks always like it's all over.
Yes.
But what is good is lifetime achievement. Still hopefully some things to do in front of me. And, but I was not too bad at what is behind me, you know. But I'm rather proud to have defended the values I think are important in sport and not to have betrayed what I think is important in our sport and in all kinds of sports, in fact.
We've seen wonderful video collages of some of the great successes, the victories, the wonderful players who've played under you. Is there any that gives you a particular warm feeling inside of remembrance?
Well, the first time I came to England was no success of foreign manager, and the first time, the first win to show people that you can win, and I think I opened a little bit for the door for other managers from foreign countries, because it was a belief that the foreign manager cannot be successful in England. So I managed to do that, and that is of course a signification. But what is remarkable and what I would like to add, you know, in life, when you love competition, you take winning for granted and you think it's normal. But I speak to all people in all kinds of sports and I make them talk. They only talk always about the things they lost and could have won. And what is terrible in sport, you live more with what you have not done, you know. And because I spoke today to ski people, to runners, they all have, we ask them, what is a race you should have won and you didn't win? And they come all out straight away.
Yes. And
in football it's a bit similar.
Yeah, they're thinking about it all the time. Arsene, when you arrived at English football, it was seen as revolutionary, your tactics, your policy to do with players' health, you know, the diet and nutrition. Now, nowadays, that looks very normal. At the time, were you surprised that everyone thought it was so revolutionary?
Yes, I was a little bit surprised, because I just thought your intake is like the petrol in the car, you know, and you try to do as well as possible to give best possible petrol to the player. And since it's difficult to describe the society 20 years ago in England, because the players, when I suppressed the Mars bars, they chanted on the coach, "We want our Mars bars," you know. So nobody would chant that anymore in any coach in the Premier League now. Maybe it has to. The modern life has changed so much, but for the players and the managers today, they are overflowed with information. At the time, that was not the case. Today, you have too many informations, and even for the players, it's to look after the 2 or 3 informations that are really important for their success.
We know you've been doing some TV work and analysis. Does that hunger remain that you want to continue going to games? You feel an absence in your life if you're not watching football, or do you see a time when you will switch off and just not watch football?
Honestly, no. I cannot switch off, and I have to accept it. I'm somewhere got that virus somewhere in my body, and it will remain there. When I wake up in the morning, my thinking is, what kind of game is on tonight? You know? And that is my life.
It's not too bad. Let's take some questions. Gentleman here in the 3rd row, and then gentleman here in the 2nd row, if our microphones are going to come. So here we go. Here first, then here. Thank you very much.
Cesc Fabregas called you his mentor tonight. I know you've mentored hundreds, probably thousands of young footballers. How important is it for young people in general to have a mentor like that, not just in football, maybe in all walks of life? And secondly, did you have a mentor of your own who set you on this path?
Look, I believe successful lives are always a meeting between people who have an attitude, a desire, and somebody who believes in them and gives them a chance. In any job, you alone, you do nothing. And as well, I believe you have, in our job, you have self-esteem and you have confidence. Self-esteem is a little bit an abstract image you have of your value, but confidence is a capacity to go into action. But the action, to go have that courage, you find it in the eyes of somebody else, of other people as well. You know you're good, but you need as well to find that belief, that confidence in people around you. So we have that huge potential to have to influence people's life in a positive way. And unfortunately, sometimes you don't find the key for somebody. But sometimes it is I give you a concrete example. The position on the field has always to be adjusted to the psychological profile of the player. So sometimes just to change position makes a difference. In the case of Cesc Fabregas, it was so obvious that he has a perfect vision and that this guy can deliver the final ball, that his position was easy to find.
Arsene, at the back here, congratulations on your award. What was the biggest surprise, getting the award or Jose Mourinho finally saying something really nice about you?
That's a very good question. Would you come from England, I would not be surprised. No, well, it was a surprise, yes, because we had some good fights, and time appeases it always. And you know, the surprise that I got rewarded was even bigger, because usually, you know, lifetime achievement is for Pelé, Maradona, or Beckenbauer, and tonight is a little player from a village. So, but I represent coaches, and somewhere it's good as well that coaches are rewarded in our game.
Arsene, we saw France being honoured tonight for winning the World Cup. Africa has probably underperformed at the World Cup, African teams generally. And coaches like yourself, would you be interested in going into Africa to try and allow them to get to that next step at the world level?
No, I made a statement after the final of the World Cup, and I just said that France won the World Cup with some African players who have been educated in France, you know, but they still come from Africa. And so I thought, what I said is that it should encourage Africa to organize their football. There's so much talent. These guys are really French. They were born in France. They were not selected because of the quality of football. Their parents came to France. They've been educated in France. But that shows that the potential in Africa is there. And one person cannot change that. The whole football has to be organized and structured. And successful national football starts with youth system that is well organized. I cannot do that. I'm not enough time in front of me. This is plans of, I can help to put it en route, but you need 10, 20 years to do that.
Arsene, hello. This time last year, Mesut Ozil had just signed his new lucrative contract at the club, but now he can't seem to get in the team or even in the squad sometimes. I just wondered what you make of that situation and how it might resolve itself.
I feel that the length of a contract has nothing to do with normally with the selection of the team, but sometimes you have special cases that I don't want to interfere in, but most of the time we think when we sign a player for 5 years, now we have a good player for 5 years, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they practice it, that they play at their best, you know, because it's a bit inviting them to be in the comfort zone. When the player is only 5 or 6 months, it's a little bit different. You have the case of Rabiot in Paris Saint-Germain, you have the case of Ramsey at Arsenal. I don't know, and I'm an Arsenal fan now, so even I'm a very sensitive fan because I cannot speak too much about that, and I just want Arsenal to win.
Arsene, on a similar point. Why do you think these contracts are running down and so many clubs, particularly Arsenal in recent years, are having trouble and players are able to...
In the case of Ramsey, it's not a question at all of contract. Not at all. The player, I think it was not a financial situation and not a desire for the player to leave. But as long as I was there, I was convinced that the player would stay. What happened after, I don't know. But it was not a financial problem and not a desire to leave problem. What happened after, I don't know. And why do the players run out their contract? It's very simple. Because the transfer money is so big now that they think if I run out my contract, I will not get the whole transfer, I get the big part of it. So adding that to the inflation, it means that the financial incitement for the player is to run out this contract. We'll see that more and more. You know, because a normal player, a good player today is between 50 and 100 million. So the player will not be bought for that price. His interest is to run the contract out and say to the club who wants to buy him, okay, I don't want 50, but I want a part of it.
To that end, Arsene, was it a mistake to give Ozil that significant contract last year? And was it a mistake to give Ozil that significant contract last year? And tell me about Mesut Ozil. What's he like as a person behind the scenes?
I don't want to interfere in that, you know. I'm a fan, and I just want Arsenal to win the games, and my position is very sensitive about that, and I don't want to interfere with the internal policy. Ozil is a contract, but again, the problem you ask, you want to buy the same kind of player than Ozil, you will have to spend 100 million. You know, and and to retain the value of the player, that beyond the Ozil case, it is more about the way football is structured nowadays. It is to buy players of top quality, you need 100 million. And so the decision you have to make always is, do we extend the player who cost us nothing, and is a top-class player, or do we have the money to buy a player who's not much less expensive and spend that kind of money?
Okay, we've got time for another couple of questions. Gentleman over here. Thank you.
Bonsoir Arsène, vous êtes un manager expérimenté, mais depuis quelque temps il y a de nouveaux entraîneurs qui commencent à se révéler, en tout cas aux yeux du grand public. Parmi ces entraîneurs, je pense notamment à Thomas Tuchel. J'ai cru comprendre que vous appréciez cet entraîneur. Est-ce que vous pouvez me raconter un peu ce que vous aimez chez Thomas Tuchel?
We'll ask the question, answers in English if that's okay. The translation is available.
They asked me about Thomas Tuchel, the young generation coming up, you know, of young coaches, and he thinks I appreciate Tuchel from Paris Saint-Germain, what is true. What I like is that he moved from Germany to France, and what our job is about. He is not scared to develop his ideas, and he adapted very quickly to different kind of game, and he looks like he has a team with him.
Last question here, thank you.
Arsene, just in the middle. You talked about the values that you had as a coach in terms of developing young players, finding value in the market, building something bigger than what happens on the pitch.
Yeah, because I just want to say that we built the Emirates without one penny injected by anybody, you know. So that means this is all done on transfer policy from the first to the last moment. So you could only survive by having a good transfer policy and by selling your best players. Because what people forget now, this has changed because the television money has improved a lot. So the weight today of a transfer is less big because on television money has doubled compared to a few years ago. And that's why I believe we're relying on our transfer policy.
Do you think of the Premier League coaches now, it's actually Mauricio Pochettino that is most similar to you in that regard? And
they have a good young generation, you know. with the wings, Dele Alli, Kane, Dyer. They have a very good young generation, like we had sometimes, and like Man United had with the Giggs, Beckham, Scholes generation. So they have a good basic ground to develop. They are maturing now, and it will be interesting to see how they develop.
Perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. And
thank you.
A round of applause for Arsene Wenger, our Lifetime Achievement Award recipient.